The price of jealousy. A day ate the food meant to kill the twins. The poison porridge that changed everything. What happens when the one you helped rises against you? When the person you welcomed with open arms becomes the hand behind your pain? And what do you do when the child who calls you mother eats the meal meant to bury your joy? This is the unforgettable story of Adukar, a graceful village girl raised with love and wisdom, who walked the hard path of peace and loyalty. She gave everything to protect her marriage. But not even love could stop what envy had planned. Gather round, let me tell you a tale that will linger in your heart long. One of loyalty, betrayal, jealousy, and divine justice. Don't forget to share this tale with someone you love. You never know, it might be the mirror they need. Adukar was the kind of girl elders used as examples when correcting the wayward. Her cheeks carried the kind of dimples that melted anger, her eyes danced with innocence, and her voice carried wisdom beyond her years. But what made her truly special wasn't beauty, it was her heart. She was raised by her grandmother, a woman full of proverbs and prayers. The old woman molded her like clay, teaching her that dignity is more precious than gold, that a woman's honor begins and ends with her character. In the village of Egan, everyone knew Adukar. The young boys dreamt of her. The old women wished their sons would bring home a woman like her. She could cook, sew, farm, fetch water without complaint, and still wear a smile that made the sun jealous. After school, Adukar learned fashion design. Her small tailoring shed was always bubbling with customers, especially the wives of the rich who couldn't resist her neat stitches and warm attitude. Yet, no matter how successful she became, she never forgot her grandmother's yam ridges. She helped her in the farm every week, hoe in one hand, humility in her heart. Then came Adajar, the chief's son. Tall, strong, with eyes that spoke honor. He watched Adukar from afar, then walked straight into her life. No games, no riddles. Just intentions wrapped in honesty. When Adajar approached Grandma, she didn't rush. She sent word, made findings, asked questions, fasted and prayed. And when all was clear, she smiled and gave her blessing. The wedding shook the village. It was like a festival. Adukar and Adajar were the picture of love. But love, no matter how pure, is tested by time. 5 years passed. No cry of a baby. No footsteps running around. Just silence and sorrow. The village began to whisper. But the loudest voice came from her mother-in-law. She insulted Adukar daily, cursed her womb, called her a barren witch. Each time Adajar returned from his cocoa trading, he would hold Adukar close, wipe her tears, and beg her not to leave. "You are not the problem," he always said. "I love you, and I believe in you. This is just a test." One day, Adukar couldn't take it anymore. She rushed to her grandmother's hut, tears running like rain. "Mama, I'm tired. I want to leave. I can't live like this." Her words burned like hot pepper on bare skin. But Grandma rose in her old age, shook her wrapper, and spoke with fire in her bones. "God forbid you leave your husband's house for a woman who did not build it. You will stay. You will carry your babies. Do you hear me?" Adukar nodded weakly, wiping her eyes. "Your husband, does he still love you?" "He loves me more than himself, Mama. He even refused to take another wife despite all the pressure." Grandma looked around, then leaned close. "Then we must act wisely. I've been watching my friend's daughter, Bozar. She's humble and respectful. Let her marry your husband. Let her bear a child. Peace will return. You will see." Adukar's heart broke. The idea hurt like 1,000 thorns. But for the peace of her home, she agreed. Adajar refused at first, but gave in when he saw his wife's strength. Bozar entered their home like a dove. She was quiet, submissive, and soon pregnant. When she gave birth to a baby boy, the whole family danced. Even Adukar celebrated, carrying the baby as if it were hers. Then the miracle came. Adukar became pregnant too. She glowed like a sunrise. Her husband stayed close. Grandma visited often. 9 months later, Adukar gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The entire village exploded with joy. Songs were sung, gifts poured in, and even the chief declared a village feast. But not all hearts danced. Bozer's joy slowly turned bitter. She grew cold. Her smiles faded. Fights started, small at first, then constant. Adukar is showing off. She thinks she's better than me. Adedar tried to manage the tension. Let's protect our home, he told Adukar. You're the elder wife. Don't let jealousy spoil your happiness. So Adukar endured. She forgave. She focused on her children, her shop, and her home. As time passed, all 3 children, Ade and the twins, began attending the same school. Adukar returned to her sewing. Bozer, who ran a small provision shop, stayed home to receive them after school. One afternoon, something snapped inside Bozer. Envy had grown roots in her heart. She cooked 2 pots of porridge. One for her son, rich, enticing, but bland. The other for the twins, plain, but poisoned with crushed crayfish. The plan was simple: let the twins eat and never rise. Ade came home first. She handed him the dish meant for him. Look, Ade, see how fine this porridge is. Yours is better. Don't eat the other one, okay? Yes, Mummy, the boy nodded. But let me play first. As he played, his eyes caught the twins' food. It looked plainer, but had crayfish. His favorite. Without thinking, he dropped his plate and devoured the poisoned one. Moments later, the twins arrived. As they settled down, Bozer returned to check. Her scream tore through the air like thunder. Ade, what have you done? Mummy, my stomach. It hurts, the boy whimpered, clutching himself. Bozer fell to the ground, beating her chest. Somebody help me. Neighbors, I poisoned my own son. The porridge was meant for the twins. I didn't mean for it to be him, she cried. I wanted to destroy the twins, not my own son. Oh, Ade, my Ade. Adukar stood, silent, trembling. Her lips barely moved, but her words struck like thunder. I took you in as a sister, she whispered. I gave you love, and you tried to kill my children. Adedar stood frozen, shaking his head, his eyes red, his heart torn between rage and grief. He turned away, unable to look at either woman. The neighbors had rushed Ade to the village clinic miles away, but the poison had already drained his strength. The boy, so full of life, so innocent, drew his last breath before the hospital gates. The news shattered the village. Cries echoed from hut to hut. A day that was meant to be ordinary became one marked in blood and sorrow. As tradition demanded, the 2 wives were taken before the village king and council of elders. It was not just to judge the crime, but to cleanse the air, restore spiritual balance, and declare with their own mouths that they would never harbor evil against each other again. Draped in white wrappers, barefoot and sorrowful, Adukar and Bozer stood before the king. See what you make me go through, Adukar said softly. Swear, the chief priest intoned, before the gods, before this land, and before the child whose spirit watches us now, that you will no longer war against each other, in flesh or in spirit. They both swore. With shaky hands on sacred soil, with tears on their faces. Bozer wept bitterly, her soul shattered. She had paid the price of jealousy with the life of her only son. A lesson too painful, a wound too deep. Bozer began the long road of repentance. She stayed quiet. She prayed. She fasted. Slowly, she tried to pick the broken pieces of her soul. And Adukar? She did the unthinkable. She forgave again. Not because she was foolish. Not because the pain had vanished. But because her heart knew that peace is not given to the bitter, and healing never lives where hatred grows. Over time, the home that once trembled with division became whole again. Adukar and Adajar continued to walk in love. Their twins grew, bright and beautiful, each carrying a spark of their father's strength and their mother's grace. And Bozer remained in the home, not as a rival, but as a wounded woman finding her way back to grace. The three of them lived not just as survivors, but as one big family, bound by pain, reformed by truth, and sustained by forgiveness. If this story moved you, share it. Someone you know might be walking in Bozer's shoes or suffering in a Dukker's silence. Leave a comment. What would you have done if you were a Dukker? And don't forget, subscribe to Afrifun Tale for more African stories that heal, teach, and open the eyes.